The kings before Herod. The arrival of the kings at that time, when no feast was being celebrated in Jerusalem, when no special commercial interest seemed to bring them, and also by that particular road, was something remarkable. They explained to the officials why they had come, and spoke of the star and the child. But their hearers were ignorant on the subject, and so the kings again began to think that they had surely erred, since they could not find one person who looked as if he knew anything connected with the redemption of the world. The people gazed at them in wonder, unable to conceive what they wanted. The kings explained that they were ready to pay for whatever they got from them, and that they wished to confer with their king. And now arose great hurrying to and fro, the travelers meantime interchanging questions and answers with the crowd gathered around them. Some had indeed heard of a child that was to be born at Bethlehem, but they were poor, ignorant people, and their words had no weight. Others laughed derisively, and the kings grew troubled and disheartened. And then they perceived by the expressions of the people that Herod knew nothing of what they sought, and that he was by no means beloved by his subjects. They became anxious as to how they should address him. They had recourse to prayer. Their courage revived, and they said to one another, "He who has brought us so quickly here by means of the star will also lead us home in safety." It may have been about 11 o'clock at night when the uncle was sent for by Herod. There appeared to be some kind of festivity going on, for the palace was ablaze with lights, and I saw females in it. The news brought by Theophano threw Herod into the greatest terror. He dispatched servants to the temple and also into the city, and I saw priests and scribes and aged Jews going to him with rolls of writings under their arms. They wore their priestly garments, also their breastplates, and their girdles, on which the letters were inscribed. There were about 20 around him, expounding the writings. I saw them also mounting with him to the roof of the palace and gazing at the stars. Herod was very uneasy and perplexed, but the scribes tried to divert him by endeavoring to prove that there was nothing in the talk of the kings, that those Eastern people were always superstitiously raving about the stars, and that if there was any truth in what they had said, surely the priests of the temple and the dwellers in the holy city would have known it long ago. The next morning at daybreak, I saw one of the courtiers going down to the caravan and bringing up all three of the kings to Herod's palace. They were ushered into an apartment around which were pots of foliage and bushes. Refreshments were spread at the entrance, but the kings declined the proffered food and remained standing until Herod entered. They approached him with an obeisance and without preamble, but to put him to the question as to where they should find the newborn king of the Jews. For they had seen his star, and they were come to do him homage. Herod was very much troubled, but he concealed his fears, Some of the scribes were still with him. He questioned the kings closely concerning the star, and told them that of Bethlehem, Ephratah ran the promise. But Mensor related to him the last vision they had seen in the star, whereupon Herod's anxiety became almost too great for concealment. Mensor said that they had seen a virgin with a child lying before her. From the right side of the child issued a branch formed of light, upon which stood a tower with many gates, which tower increased in size until it became a city. The child appeared standing above it with sword and scepter, and they had seen not only themselves, but all the kings of the earth coming to bow down before and adore that child. For its kingdom was to vanquish all other kingdoms. Herod advised them to go quietly and without delay to Bethlehem, and when they had found the child, to return and inform him that he too might go and adore him. I saw the kings going down from the palace and leaving Jerusalem at once. The day was dawning, and the lights on the way leading up to the palace were burning still. The crowd that had followed the royal caravan had passed that night in the city. There was among some pious people in Judea the expectation of the near advent of the Messiah, and the circumstances attendant on the birth of Jesus had been noised abroad by the shepherds. Herod had heard all, and had at Bethlehem made secret inquiries into it. His spies, however, having found only poor Joseph, and having besides orders not to attract attention, reported that it was nothing. They had found only a poor family buried in a cave, and the whole affair not worth talking about. But now, all of a sudden, appeared the great caravan of kings. Their questioning after the king of Judah was marked by such confidence and precision. They spoke with such certainty of the star that Herod could scarcely hide his anxiety and perplexity. He hoped to learn the particulars of the affair from the kings themselves, and then take measures accordingly. But when the kings, warned by God, did not return, he explained their flight as a consequence of their falsehood and disappointment. They were, he thought, ashamed to come back and be looked upon as fools. He therefore caused to be proclaimed in Bethlehem, and in a general way, that the people should have nothing to do with the strangers. When he thought to make away with Jesus, he found that he was no longer in Nazareth. He caused search to be made after Jesus for a long time. When Herod had to give up all hope of finding Jesus, Herod's anxiety was, in consequence, so much the more increased. He took the desperate resolution to murder all the children. He was so cautious in executing his measures that he transported his troops beforehand in order to avoid any insurrection.